Hey, did you know that our oceans are basically like a giant puzzle? I've been reading up on them lately, and it's fascinating how they're all connected but so different from each other.
Oh, yeah? Tell me more about that. I've always wondered about the different oceans we have.
Well, the Pacific Ocean is actually the biggest one. It's absolutely massive. But then you've got the Atlantic Ocean between the Americas and Europe, and the Indian Ocean, which is actually the warmest of them all.
Interesting. What about the smallest ocean? I feel like we don't hear about that one much.
That would be the Arctic Ocean. And speaking of extremes, have you heard of the Mariana Trench? It's the deepest part of any ocean on Earth.
No way. How deep are we talking about?
It's mind-boggling. We're talking about roughly 36,000 feet deep. But what really gets me is how little we actually know about our oceans. Like, did you know about the Mid-Atlantic Ridge?
Isn't that some kind of underwater mountain range?
Exactly. It runs right through the Atlantic Ocean. And speaking of amazing ocean features, the Great Barrier Reef is the world's longest coral reef system.
That's in Australia, right? I heard it's visible from space.
Yeah. And you know what's cool? The oceans are home to some incredible creatures. The blue whale is the largest animal ever to exist on Earth, and then you've got fascinating creatures like octopuses that can change color.
Oh, and don't forget about pufferfish. They can inflate themselves when they feel threatened.
That's right, and starfish can actually regenerate their limbs if they lose them. Nature is pretty incredible.
Speaking of incredible, what about the Dead Sea? I heard it's super salty.
It's actually the saltiest sea in the world. You can literally float in it without trying. And then there's the Red Sea between Saudi Arabia and Africa. It's got some of the most beautiful coral reefs.
That's amazing. What about ocean phenomena? I've heard about El Nino, but I'm not really sure what it is.
Oh, El Nino is fascinating. It's when warm water in the Pacific Ocean rises to the surface and actually affects weather patterns globally. And speaking of water movement, did you know that tides are caused by the gravitational pull of both the moon and the sun?
Really? I always thought it was just the moon.
Nope, both. And here's another cool fact. The Caspian Sea is actually the largest enclosed inland body of water, even though we call it a sea.
That's interesting. What about marine life longevity? Do we know which sea creature lives the longest?
Actually, we do. It's the ocean quahog clam. These little guys can live for centuries.
Wow. And what about the biggest fish? Is it a shark?
Yes, it's the whale shark. But don't worry, despite their size, they're actually gentle giants that feed on tiny plankton.
That's so cool. I feel like we could talk about the ocean for hours. There's just so much to learn about it.
Absolutely. And what's amazing is that scientists say we've only explored about 5% of our oceans. Imagine what else is down there.
Follow us for more interesting general knowledge about our amazing world.